So one of the things I enjoy doing in my personal life as far as leadership goes is I like to build stuff. A lot of times leadership is intangible, so I like having a project where I can really build something. And one of those things was my backyard, in particular the lawn, right? The way our house is situated and the way the shading hits and the sunlight and all, we knew we couldn't just plant any kind of grass. In fact, we were kind of hard pressed to find something that could live in shade and sun. We decided on clover. Now I know most people want to get rid of clover, but we decided we wanted to plant it. And so I spent the better part of a whole season preparing the yard for that. 3 months of digging down, removing bad soil, putting in new soil, getting the right nutrients in place, and getting the right environment put together for this seed to grow. And so I planted the clover, watered it, took care of it, kept the birds off of it. As it started to grow, I made sure that I was pulling weeds out of it, pulling things that was not clover out of the way so that the clover could grow properly. In that first season, it looked just phenomenal. It was unbelievable. It was so rich and green and lush. I'd spent all that time working so hard to create an environment that was sustainable and it was thriving and that things could really grow well and this clover could grow. And so it went really well for a whole season. The second season, I noticed a spot in the yard just starting to grow, and the clover was dying off pretty quickly in that spot. Now, I've seen that before. I've had some experience with it, and typically it's grubs that are attacking the roots and causing the plant to die. So I went out and I wanted to confirm it, so I took a little shovel and I started digging into the soil and lifting it up and looking for grubs. Now, grubs are fairly large, so you can't miss them. I didn't see anything. I looked some more, I couldn't find it. So I thought, well, maybe it's something else. Maybe birds are pecking or lizards or other animals are digging something up and eating the clover. Maybe it's a rabbit, you know. So I observed for a little bit and it's continued to spread. And so I went back out and I dug again and I sifted through the dirt and could not find any grubs. So I thought, well, I'll just get a grub killer and spread it out anyway, just in case. So that's what I did. That was my experience. So that was the tool that I used. It did not work. And so this spread. And pretty soon, in the span of 2 or 3 weeks, this had spread so much so that it almost completely destroyed the entire yard, killed everything, wiped it out. Some parts were completely wiped out, completely dead, nothing left. And I wonder what was going on. So I finally consulted a master gardener. I took some pictures of the leaf structure. I took a picture of the yard and I sent what was going on to this master gardener, who then replied pretty quickly back saying, "You've got a flea beetle." Flea beetle? What is a flea beetle? Apparently it's a very small little pest that the adult eats the leaves, you know, starts destroying that, and then they all get together with their little flea beetle partners and they connect up and they have little baby flea beetles and they plant them in the ground and then it becomes larvae, and those grubs then feed off the roots of the plant, thus killing it. Then they come up after about 9 or 10 days, become pupa, and then they turn into the adult flea beetle, live off the leaves a little bit, connect again with their other pals, and have more little flea beetles, right? And that process goes in the span of 2 or 3 weeks. It just spread across my lawn and nearly destroyed the entire thing. And he gave me a solution, what I needed to use. This is the expert. He says, hey, in your area, this is what you need to use. So I went and got it, found the product, and I sprayed it out. And this is in a process of a month that I've been going through to clear the yard of this infestation. So I got to thinking about how my lawn was kind of like what we do with our organizations and trying to build the culture of our organizations. We work really, really hard to create an environment that is lush and sustainable and it thrives. It's an environment that allows people to really grow and maximize their skill set and then be innovative and creative and to create the best versions of themselves, right? And as leaders, we're wanting to pour into our people because it's not just about making stuff, right? It's not just about doing things or providing a service. It's beyond that. It's being called to a higher purpose. Our organizations are driven to building into people and making an impact not only on their lives and their families' lives, but the community around us and ultimately the world. At least that's what a lot of my leaders are looking to do. And yet, somewhere along the line as leaders, we get neglectful. There's a little bit of leadership drift where we should have a conversation, a tough conversation with somebody, and we don't. And we let it go, we let it slide, or we make a bad hire. We know the person's character is not really what it should be, but it'll be okay. It shouldn't make that big of a deal, right? Because we need the person. And so we allow things to come in. Maybe it's something from the outside. Maybe it's an economic issue. The economy tanks a little bit more than we expected, or maybe it's regulation that gets passed and we weren't quite expecting that. But whatever it is that comes across our plate as leaders, something's come in. It's kind of like that flea beetle. It's an infestation. Something is attacking the culture of our organization and causing it to die off. And this becomes a problem, especially all around the world, when one of the biggest questions that leaders have is, how do I retain my best people? How do I keep them? They seem to be leaving. A lot of it has to do with culture. What is the culture that we are designing? Have we created an environment that is thriving and sustainable, that allows them to grow? But we've allowed something to come in as leaders, and it's drifted, and it's causing a problem in our culture, and things are dying off. And just like my lawn, there's certain areas that are completely dead. We've lost people, we've lost our best talent. In some areas, there's little sprouts of life, right? Kind of like in my yard, that it was hanging on. And some people are hanging on to the culture. They're trying to stay in tune. And oftentimes, the upper leadership, the top leadership, might still be in an area that is still thriving and still very healthy, yet the rest of the organization on the outskirts is starting to fall apart, and they're not quite sure what's going on, and they don't know why things are going on. Kind of like when I was looking at, based on my experience, what this yard was dealing with, I thought it was grubs. Yeah, I was kind of right, but not quite. I had to get advice from a master gardener. One of the tools that I like to use with my leaders in organizations all around the country is the MindSuite GPS. It's an assessment tool that allows leaders to really know what is going on in their organizations, not just guess. When you understand what's really going on, then you can start to find the right tools and the right resources to put into play that can bring your culture and your organization back to health, much like I've been doing with my yard. And over time, it's starting to grow back as I keep treating this using the right tool. That's what the MindSuite GPS does. It's a great tool for leaders. So there's a link to a complimentary GPS checkup. We call it the Possibilities Checkup. Click on that link. Start a conversation with us. Let us talk to you about what's going on in your organization with your culture, and see if we can't bring value to what you have going on. Some insight and some real solutions to helping you to restore a corporate culture that is going to be innovative and creative, resourceful, thriving, and sustainable.